Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, February 19th. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. Commuters in the Bel Air area were left stranded this morning as bus operators staged a protest against road conditions in that area. Mosiah Rodriguez spoke to several of the drivers who were on strike and filed this report.
"We want better roads" was the main chant issued by the minibus operators and some villagers this morning in the Bel Air Daphne area as they staged a peaceful protest. Persons within the district would have thought it was a normal day of taking a minibus to their various destinations, had their plans interrupted as the minibus operators ceased operations. The strike move was initiated after a meeting last night. The operators were not happy. Their appeal for better road conditions were not met as promised by the Minister of State. During a meeting last Sunday, Francis said he needed 2 days to mobilize various crews and that work would have begun yesterday, Wednesday the 18th. However, upon observation, little was done. SVGTV News spoke with some of the minibus operators who are involved in the strike action this morning.
And we decided to come out and make a peaceful protest on the road. We don't block the road, we ain't parking the road for say block the road. We just driving slow and protesting. The police them come and start harassing we.
Would the protest just be for today or would it be an ongoing process?
An ongoing process because we need the road. We had a meeting last Sunday with Julia and Francis. So we tell him we'll give him 5 days. He said no, he only wants 3 days to do the road. So by Wednesday, he said you need Monday and Tuesday to get 2 crew together. And by Wednesday they'll be on the road working. We don't see none.
This morning we decided to take our protests on the road. Reason being that we was in a meeting with Julia and Francis on Sunday. He told us to give him 2 days to mobilize his crews, right? So on Wednesday, he should commence doing the road. Well, we wait on him. No work is being done. So we had a meeting last night. The minibus of this area decided that they're going to withdraw service. So this morning, we're on the road protesting coming up. The traffic police came. Well, we expect them to come. We don't expect that. But I feel they deal with the situation very poorly.
Also sharing his point was a disappointed villager and shop owner who said that he was stunned by the actions of the police officers who were summoned to the protest.
It's unfortunate, that what takes place today with the policemen them is unreasonable. The guys them did not stay in the road. What they did from by my area, they just drive in along the way, and all those police just come and arrest those guys and doing ill-treating them, and that's not fair. I mean, what's our democratic right in this country? They're not blocking the road. If they're blocking the road, it makes something. I don't know. I don't enjoy it at all. I feel so sorry to see what they did with those guys.
During the strike action this morning, the police arrested 2 minibus drivers, Leroy Sticky Farrell and Devon Brawler Boucher. Farrell was issued 2 traffic ticket offenses. He was charged with failing to remove his vehicle and comply with traffic regulations and also parking less than 15 feet from a corner. Boucher, meanwhile, was charged with obstruction to the free flow of traffic. Each ticket carries an $80 fine. Upon leaving the area, SVG-TV observed that a few potholes were filled with material, and at around 10 a.m., a work crew was seen cutting around 2 major potholes in the Fountain area. For SVG-TV News, I am Mosiah Rodriguez.
And while the bus operators in the Bel Air Fountain area are of the view that Minister of State Julian Francis did not stay true to his commitment made last Sunday, Francis says his promise was kept. Speaking to SVG-TV News earlier today, Francis says following Sunday's meeting where he promised to have work commenced by Wednesday, that's February 18th, he actually had a gang mobilized by Monday to carry out temporary filling of holes in some areas. The minister says by Wednesday, as promised, there was a cutting and patching crew from Bagsa on the job, carrying out work specifically in the Middle Road area. He said another crew was mobilized yesterday, but did not show up for work.
The vans have not been used in the Middle Road, so they apparently were not aware, although Codred himself knew. Because when I spoke to Codred this morning, he said he was going to drive through and see what was happening. I told him that there was a crew inside there from yesterday. There were about between maybe 8 and 10 holes cut out in the Middle Road area, but they apparently didn't see it. I brought that to their attention. They said I didn't live up to my word. I said, well, I know I lived up to my word. I explained to them that the hot mix asphalt will not be there. They're saying that we should patch out the bad areas first, but all of it has to be done. So we took the one from the middle road and brought it out onto the main road. So the holes that have been cut inside of the middle road are gaping right now. And one gang, Bragsa has 2 patching crews. One is by Terry, just above Terry, the butcher at Daphne, and one is down at the Seventh-day Adventist Church, where the main road joins to the VG long stretch. So both of them are cutting and filling back in today.
Francis gave the bus operators the commitment that work will be intensified over the weekend. However, he explained that he will not be able to place hot mix on the roads until Monday.
A third gang came on this morning, but that gang was directed to go and clean some areas, the drains, where we are going to do some patching, because the blocked drain is what has caused the potholes. The gang went somewhere else other than where they were directed. So the fellas have 1 or 2 things on their side, but the commitment was lived up to. So I said to them this morning, well, you still have the option of striking if you so desire. I am not interfering with your right if you want to. And we had another discussion with Code and Code said, well, listen, I know that the minister got his gang in yesterday and they started patching. We can't patch it all. We can't really direct where the patching gang should go first. They have their plan, let them implement their plan. We have to give them time to patch because the holes can't be patched in one day. So I said, you know what? I will have all 3 gangs work right through, including Saturday, Sunday. So they'll work today, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've already spoken to the 3 gangs and they've agreed to work Saturday, Sunday. Naturally, we have to pay them double time for it, but to ease the whole situation.
Meanwhile, in responding to claims that his government is only moved to have roads patched after strike actions have been threatened, Francis says that this is not the case and explains that Bragsa is now in the process of organizing a $1.6 million program to carry out road patching work in all 15 constituencies across the country. Francis says the program is slated to commence by the end of February or early March. Meanwhile, commenting on the arrest of 2 of the bus operators who were involved in the strike action today, Francis says he followed through on his promise to make a representation to the Commissioner of Police to reconsider the arrest of the drivers depending on the seriousness of the charges.
The Commissioner said, well, they were given a ticket because apparently they charged them for dangerous driving or something like that. But they still had them on the bench in the barracks. So I asked him, well, if you've charged them and you've given them a ticket, why not release them, you know, because... So they were released, and the minute they came out, there was some cheering from the guys. They got into the vans and they went back to work. So I spoke to Code Red, and Code Red says, I said, so what's happening to the action? He says, no, Minister, you've lived up to your word, and we're going back to work. The 4 vans left and drove down to Tokyo. I suppose they're back on the run. It was inconvenient for the people of Belay and so on this morning. In fact, at one point, I brought down about 15 of them in my truck and gave them a ride into town. You know, so I worked with them. I tried, and it's disappointing that I lived up to my part of the bargain, but I think it was in their blood. They had to do something.
According to information coming to hand, the minibus operators say they will resume their normal work schedule tomorrow as the roads the road works have commenced. Let's move on now. As Liat continues on its cost-cutting restructuring exercise, some $22 million is said to be required to cover severance for almost 200 staff that the company intends to part ways with. At a media conference earlier this week, Chair of Liat's shareholder governments, Dr. Al Gonzalez, listed some of the main focus areas that were looked at during the recent shareholders meeting in Barbados. Prime Minister Gonzalez explains that the shareholders endorsed the company's strategic direction.
It has embarked on a major structural change to both its network and its cost base. What has it done in relation to, first of all, its refleeting? It has 8 planes, 8 new ATRs, 4 ATR 72s and 4 ATR 42s. That is where we went. There are 2 Dash 8s which are still in operation. There were 13 Dash 8s in all, some purchased, some leased. We are hoping to be able to return, to sell those which we haven't returned, the others, by June. It's costing a lot of money to keep them on an annual basis. Because in the case of the 2 Dash 8s, you have to have separate pilots.
Prime Minister Gonzalez explains that Dr. Gonzalez also pointed out that there are 2 other aircraft that the LIAT's management is seeking to purchase.
The 5th ATR 42, it has to be, we have paid on it already, and it is ready for delivery. So that has to be received on a particular arrangement. And then the purchase of the other Dash 8, the other ATR 72 is postponed to next year. And we have to, when we have all of those, we would be in a better position with all our routes, and then of course we would be saving a great deal of money.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonzalez says as a result of the sale of all the Dash 8 aircraft, the total number of staff at LIAT will be cut.
And the plan is to cut 180 staff members from 800 to 620. It may be at 620, the number would still be more than is required. But that requires $22 million to do the severance. Though on an annual basis we'll be saving $13 million as a consequence of the separation of personnel from the company, voluntary or otherwise, and the management would address that. But we need some resources from the sale of the Dash 8s to effect this kind of a change.
Some news on permaculture now. As part of Black History Month 2015, a lecture was held last evening to discuss permaculture design in sustainable farming. The event was organized by the Universal Rastafari Movement Incorporated and was held at the Alliance Française. Farmer and permaculture designer Luc Ponnet, in his presentation, says through permaculture, Vincentians can make a living and even develop a culture. In discussing the way forward for permaculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ponnet says a demonstration site must be put in place to allow persons to see sustainable farming in action.
We have to look at possible yields. So we've gone for the community supported agriculture, which we've found very successful. But you know, there's also a demand from people in offices in Kingstown who want organic, and they're asking for a stand. You know, ecotourism can link very well with organic growing and permaculture, and offers some a tourism that's outside of this conventional, you know, Bacama resort and the Grenadines tourism, right? It offers something different that can benefit Vincentians and put, you know, money directly in their pockets, and they don't have to go and work for one of these resorts. Right, so we have people in our area doing this, and we're going to look at some pictures after just quickly illustrate that. We can plant sustainable timber stands, which we can harvest from 6 years, 10 years, 20 years. So, you know, if we have land that maybe not that good quality land and we want to make an investment, sustainable timber is a very good investment. And we also look at alternative higher value crops. So we've been looking at vanilla, which we've pollinated and we're looking to increase because we'd have to learn to do it first. We're looking at strawberries and black pepper, amongst others.
Meanwhile, engineer agronomist Ifa Miguel says it is important that Vincentians understand that permaculture is the practice of agriculture at a very natural level that does not disturb the ecosystem.
Permaculture, it was coined concerning 3 main important ethics. Care for the earth. When you talk about care for the earth, you're looking at the living and the non-living organism, and you must care for it. You must always look to re-establish it. You must not look to destroy it. In terms of the care for the people, we talk about food, shelter, or basic education, in which we must take care of employment as well. Contribution of surplus time, money, and energy to achieve earth and people care. This is taking care after our basics needs, and our basics needs have been taken care of, and our own design have been taken care of, and then we go and help others.
The Girls High School representative in the 2015 Local History Figure Contest emerged the first place in today's event held at the Peace Memorial Hall. There was a tie for second place between the George Stevens and the Thomas Saunders Secondary Schools. The contest, hosted by the Ministry of Education for third and fourth form students of history and social studies, gave them an opportunity to present arguments to distinguished local persons as national icons. The students' proposals were to include basic background information on the icons, such as greatest accomplishments, lasting legacy, and impact on the course of the history of the country. Addressing the audience at today's event, Senior Education Officer Asfer Stevens says he's happy to see history being presented in a creative way in the classrooms, and that persons need to know more and to document more about the rich history of this country.
Villi wrote many years ago, "Whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past. For human events ever resemble those of the preceding times. This produced by men who ever have been and ever shall be, animated by the same passion, and thus they necessarily have the same results," unquote. History cannot give us a program for the future, but it can give us a fuller understanding of ourselves.
Here's an excerpt from the Girls High School's presentation on Dr. Earl Kirby.
A nation without its history is like a tree without roots. One of the roots that anchored St. Vincent's history was Dr. Ian Earl Kirby. In my opinion, this was a man of great accomplishments, and he left a lasting legacy and impact on the course of our history. To this end, it would be quite fitting to pay homage to his memory by awarding him national icon status. It is my belief that Dr. Kirby, through his many accomplishments, distinguished himself as a true son of the soil. To this end, as Vincentians, we must give recognition to his work by distinguishing him as a national icon. He brought meaning to many aspects of our archaeological history, which may have disappeared had he not intervened. Undoubtedly, Dr. Kirby's knowledge of Vincentian archaeology has shed light on the history we know today.
Administrative Bishop of the New Testament Church of God of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Lucia, Wendell Davis, has described the 75th anniversary of the New Testament Church as monumental. At a lecture held last night at the Methodist Church Hall, the clergyman said it is important that not only members but the populace understand the struggles the Pentecostal institution faced. He said there are many players in its development, but most notable is the mother of the church, the late Reverend Victoria Alexandrina Thomas, or Mother Priam, as she was affectionately known. He said Mother Priam, in whose honor the lecture was conducted, endured hardship and ridicule in an era when more colorful religious groups were frowned upon.
And when you understand the history of Pentecostalism, then you'd understand where we are coming from. You'd understand how this church, particularly in St. Vincent, and if you can hear the words of our great leader, and I'm not speaking here about Jehovah God because we all know that he is our leader, but our great leader, Mother Priam, and what she had gone through as an evangelist in this church, the ridicule, the scoffing at, and the scorning, then you would understand how historic tonight is.
Bishop Davis congratulated the daughter of Mother Priam, Reverend Selena Joseph, for following in her mother's footsteps in being a minister of the gospel. He said, just like Mother Priam, who may be the first female religious leader in the New Testament Church in the Caribbean, her daughter, Reverend Joseph, also became a pioneer by becoming the first ordained female priest in the Anglican Church in the northeastern Caribbean and Aruba.
Who herself was, I was told, the first female priest ordained in the northeastern Caribbean and Aruba by the Anglican Church. Now the importance of that is the fact that Mother Priam was the first female pastor of the New Testament church in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and maybe Pentecostal church in this region. And to have her daughter following in her footsteps, to be the very first female to be ordained as an Anglican priest in the Eastern Caribbean is also historic. So, Reverend Joseph.
Meanwhile, in presenting an overview of the history of the church, Bishop Davis, who was the featured speaker at the lecture, expressed concern that members in his organization are not as passionate about evangelism. He says the church got started in Tennessee in the United States by a former Baptist minister in 1886 with just 8 members. And today the church has a following of over 8 million persons in over 178 nations. He said that passion to see the church expand further and have the gospel witnessed to the unsaved must be revived.
That we are becoming so laid back in our whole approach to evangelism that we have lost the zeal, the energy, the spiritual drive that people like Mother Priam had, that caused them, despite their hardship, despite the fact that they had no motor cars, they had no bicycle, they had no electricity, they had no paved road, but they were able to travel the length and breadth of this country to spread the gospel. Now in a day and age when we have motor cars, we have all type of transportational means, we have all type of telecommunicational means, but we have become laid back and carefree. And so I'm fearful that we are going to become so content with what we have that sooner or later there's going to be another grouping that's going to become so dissatisfied with our brand of Christianity that they're going to sort for something more.
Chief Nutritionist in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Andrea Robbins, said the dietary needs of persons must be taken seriously and be seen in its entire context. Speaking with members of the media earlier today, Robbins says from the food that are grown here to personal lifestyle habits, diets and nutrition affects almost all circuits of life.
What we would like within the nutrition unit is to have a more intentional impact, the people thinking more about what it is they're eating every day. We're finding out more and more that specific health problems are related to lack of nutrition, poor nutrition, undernutrition, and we have several terms, some of which I would like to probably explain today. Malnutrition. When we talk about malnutrition, we talk about poor nutrition. Mal means bad, but very often persons think of malnutrition in terms of things like kwashiorkor, marasmus, waist and stunting, margones, banga gut, as they would say.
Robin expressed unease about what she described as hidden hunger, which she says is significantly affecting the lives of many from birth to senior citizens.
In reality, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, there is a lot of what we call hidden hunger. Nutrition that cannot be seen, poor nutrition that cannot be seen. And a major one is iron deficiency anemia, specifically in pregnant women, in infants and children, and also obesity, which is kind of very obvious through excess fat on the body. And many people do not see that as malnutrition, but it is a form of malnutrition.